You think you can own this room? Wake up, David. This place was never yours. Leaning against the door frame, I stared at Marcus's habitually haughty face, my clenched keys dampening with sweat. The kitchen lights blazed, Mama busily setting the final course on the table. Papa sat at the head of the rectangular oak table, his eyes darting between us like a scale weighing who was more valuable. Clara leaned sideways in her chair, fingers idly playing with her phone, a sneer playing at the corners of her mouth. "What do you mean, Marcus?" I whispered, trying to keep my composure. "You shouldn't be home for too long. It's only fair that I keep the room." He shrugged, his eyes full of self-righteousness. "Reasonable." I repeated the word, staring him in the eye. "What do you think of all the effort I put in this room? All the stuff I cleaned up, all the corners I arranged?" Father cleared his throat, clearly trying to smooth things over. "David, this isn't about right or wrong. It's practical. Marcus is still at home. He has plans and he needs space." Clara murmured softly, "You're still the same, David. You always take yourself too seriously." I took a deep breath and looked at them. The family that had treated me as expendable since childhood. Marcus was pampered to the skies, Clara was spoiled rotten, and I was left to silently accept my place of being ignored and squeezed. Today, they were clearly going to repeat this drama. "Very well," I said slowly, my voice calm. "Since you've made up your mind, I'll go along with your reasonable arrangement." They were stunned, especially my mother, whose smile froze on her face as if she hadn't expected my obedience to carry a different undertone. I took the keys in my hand and ran my fingers over them, as if caressing the patience and plans I had accumulated over the years. From childhood, I was never the center of attention. Marcus was always the future heir. His parents watched him with pride no matter what he did. Clara, on the other hand, effortlessly escaped responsibility and criticism, turning every mistake into a cute little episode. And me, David, the middle child, remained a shadow, only appearing when someone needed help with tasks or problem-solving. I sat at the table, calmly observing the scene. Marcus was slicing the steak with a knife, his lips curved in that trademark confident smile. "You see, David, I'll eventually take over the room. Just because you don't care doesn't mean others don't need it." Clara raised an eyebrow, her phone glued to her face. "He's gotten used to being ignored. Let him keep going." The parents nodded as if their approval were the final verdict. At that moment, I realized it wasn't the room itself, but the symbol of my years of tolerance. Back in my room, I closed the door and finally had time to sort my thoughts. This room had once been my only private space. My carefully selected posters adorned the walls, while the bookshelf held neatly arranged materials from my college days to my career path. Every inch of it was a testament to my dedication. Yet to my parents, it was nothing more than a decorative touch that could be dispensed with. I settled down quietly, pulled out my laptop, and the screen lit up with my 2-year journey. A design studio I'd built from scratch, clients across the country, and contracts already secured. My name was respected and recognized in the industry. Compared to Marcus's so-called business plan, my success was tangible, while his still relied on parental support. As a child, I learned to endure. Whenever my parents overlooked me or my siblings mocked me, I buried my anger deep within, transforming it into motivation. I used every spare moment to enrich myself and shaped clear goals through experiences of suppression. Today, they still think I'm that David who's always at their mercy. But in truth, I've quietly mastered my own cards. 2 weeks ago, I signed the contract for my new house. The bright living room, the high ceiling, every room was mine. Neither Marcus nor my parents could interfere. I know that revenge is not an impulsive quarrel, but a calm plan. Over the coming weekend, I invited the whole family to our new home to celebrate Marcus's success. They naturally assumed it was a Marcus-themed party, with Clara still sharing funny stories in the group chat and Dad boasting about Marcus's upcoming expansion plans. I stood at the door and greeted them with a smile. "Welcome," I said, my voice steady, my gestures polite and firm. "I'm glad you're here." They stepped into the living room, their eyes widening in surprise. The tall ceiling, bright natural light, and spacious layout exuded an aura of order and independence in every corner. Marcus's face turned pale as he opened his mouth slightly. Clara's phone dropped to the floor with a clatter. The father's face shifted from confidence to shock, while the mother's hand clutched the armrest tightly. Her eyes filled with uncertainty. This is the house you bought? Dad's voice was low. I smiled and nodded, gently turning the key in my hand. Yes, every inch is mine. No one can interfere. Clara's voice trembled slightly. You can't do this. We thought. Think I'll keep tolerating? I interrupted, my tone calm. No, I won't. I won't let your bias and contempt define my life. Marcus's confidence began to crumble. You're buying a house? Are you trying to show off? It's not about showing off, but about demonstrating action. As I walked through each room, I slowly explained the layout. Every object, every wall was my decision. You thought you could control me, but I've already taken charge of my life. The parents' silence shattered their authority before me. Marcus's shoulders tensed as he tried to snap back, but found himself powerless. Clara dropped her phone, her face etched with tension and anxiety. I pointed to the living room, my eyes calm and determined. There is no control, no favoritism, no mockery here. You learned to dominate in the old house. I learned to dominate here. Finally, Dad spoke up. David, we just wanted to. I shook my head with a cold smile. The family order you seek was once my weapon. Now David has his own. Do you understand? As each word was spoken, they felt their long-held habits being shattered. Marcus's eyes flickered with fear, while Clara's face turned pale and trembled. The parents realized their so-called authority couldn't reach this place. I didn't shout, I didn't insult, I just let the facts speak. I had succeeded, I no longer needed their approval. I took them on a tour of the new house. Every room was proof of action. Every inch of space was a symbol of freedom. Finally, I stood in the backyard, looking down at the garden. Sunlight was shining on the lawn and the wind was rustling through the leaves. I turned to look at the family, whose faces were a mix of shock, disappointment, and, for the first time, real respect. Enjoy it, I said softly yet firm. You taught me contempt and favoritism, and I learned patience and action. Now David's life is in his own hands. The door closed softly, and I took a deep breath. The years of oppression and humiliation had finally paid off. Not with rage, but with calm, complete, and undeniable power. Marcus could no longer suppress me with arrogance. Clara could no longer dominate me with mockery, and my parents' authority could no longer control my life. Standing at the center of everything I controlled, I truly felt the weight of freedom.